this is a particularly solemn anniversary in our country. I first really learned about D-Day right when I turned 16, I guess it was, because I remember so vividly President Reagan's address in Normandy when he talked about the boys of Pointe du Hoc. And then, of course, I studied it in college and read Stephen Ambrose's great book about D-Day and saw Saving Private Ryan, like many of you, countless times. But a couple years ago, I was driving home from visiting an alum in North Carolina, and I was busting it to get home because it was a Saturday, and I had kids at home that needed to be tended to. And so I was driving as quickly as I can lawfully up Route 81, and I saw a sign on the side of the road that said, "Next exit, the National D-Day Memorial." And I pulled over and I checked my phone. I said, I didn't even know there was a National D-Day Memorial. Of course, it's in Bedford, Virginia, and some of you know the story. Why would the National D-Day Memorial be in Southwest Virginia in a little town called Bedford, Virginia? Well, it's because, generally speaking, that no municipality, no city, no town in America had made a greater sacrifice to the D-Day effort than Bedford, Virginia. Something like 33 members of the Virginia National Guard stormed those beaches that day, and 19 of them died on the beaches, and 4 more died in the Battle of Normandy in the days ahead. And so Congress felt that what better place in America to have a memorial than there. And then, like John, I had the unbelievable privilege last year at the 74th anniversary to walk those same beaches, Utah and Omaha, and at sunset to walk the cemetery at Colville-sur-Mer. I want to just share with you why this day is so important, and I'll leave it to one of our great contemporary historians to share, Douglas Brinkley. He said this about June 6, 1944. The following day, June 7th, newspapers were full of mind-boggling factoids and statistics about how D-Day had succeeded. One number that didn't appear was 36,525. Readers might guess that number represents the tally of soldiers who landed at Omaha Beach, or the number of ships and aircraft used in the cross-channel operation, or the number of German defenders, or the number of casualties, or any number of other things associated with Operation Overlord. But 36,525 is simply the number of days in a century. And of all the days in the 20th century, none were more consequential than June 6, 1944. Some might argue that certain inventions and discoveries during that great century of innovation should be deemed the most important, like Watson and Crick's reveal of the double helix structure of DNA, or all of Einstein's contributions. But other nominees flatten when one asks, what if D-Day had failed? So I would argue there's no better date on which to have a dedication like this. But why a dedication to our veterans? I mean, if you look around where we're standing or sitting right now, most of the dedications on this campus are to individuals. Bryseth Hall, Jane and Chris Bryseth, Larry and Sally Cohen Science Center, the Stark Learning Center behind me, to Admiral Stark, who was Chief of Naval Operations during World War II. More recently, the Mark Engineering Center. You are standing on the Carambellas Gateway, as Paul mentioned, in the heart of our Fenner Quadrangle. today we recognize a group of individuals who are so important to us here at Wilkes University. That is, all of those who have fought in the past, many of whom never returned from their service. Those of whom fight now to protect our freedoms. And in a funny kind of way, because this will last for decades to come, everyone who chooses to serve our country in uniform in the years to come. This is very important for this university. We are, of course, a university that very proudly sponsors the Air Force ROTC program. It's our belief that it's inevitable that we are going to have a strong military throughout the 21st century and beyond. And if that is in fact the case, I desperately want Wilkes University to be able to educate at least a few of the officers who will serve in that military. We are, year after year, recognized as a military-friendly institution. It's one of the things for which we're most proud here at Wilkes. All of our major events, we started a ritual of recognizing men and women who served our country in uniform. So it's particularly fitting that we should recognize our veterans with the dedication of this Veterans Memorial Court. Is there a better dedication than that? And then you might ask, well, why this place here? Of all the places on campus, why here? This is right here, the literal and figurative heart of our campus here at Wilkes. Right beneath, of course, the Stars and Stripes and the flag of our great state. And I'd like to add the flag of our great university. It's not coincidental that we would place the flags right in the middle of our campus, making it, of course, not coincidental that we might recognize our veterans right in the heart of our campus. Every single student at this university, forevermore, every single faculty member, every single staff member, every single visitor to this campus is likely to walk through now the Veterans Memorial Court. And it's my hope that even for an instant, even if it's just for an instant, that people who traverse this beautiful gateway through this Veterans Memorial Court might stop just for an instant and be reminded that there are people who serve our country and protect our freedoms so that we might go about our business of teaching and learning and doing research and contributing to our community. I would ask you, is there a better place than this on our campus? Is there a better day? No. Is there a better, more worthy set of people to recognize? No. Is there a better place on our campus? I don't think so. I always say that many of us who never served our country in uniform, there's one small way we might continue to serve our country, and that is to make sure that we honor, we recognize, and we support those who did serve our country in uniform. But more important than that, even, is something that Kelly said. Let me steal from you, Kelly. Let's let the example of our veterans, past, present, and future, inspire our own acts of bravery and heroism and courage in our own communities. I hope that this Veterans Memorial Court will inspire all of us to figure out what are the ways in which we might, out of uniform, serve our country and our community. That, I think, would be the very best way to pay respects to our veterans, both past, present, and future. I'll end my remarks back at the beginning, June 6, 1944. I'm sure all of you have seen this, the great miniseries that Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks did, Band of Brothers, that recognized the Easy Company. Easy Company was part of the 101st Airborne Division of the Army that were parachuted in early. They were the first ones in on June 4th, 1944. And it followed them that day and the days ahead and through the Battle of Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge, to the end of the war. And you might remember, if you've seen this, they asked one of the members of Easy Company, one of the actual members of Easy Company who was still with us 10 years or so ago. He recounted something that ended the series. He recounted that his grandson asked him one time, he said, "Grandpa, were you a hero in the war?" Grandpa said, "No, son, but I served in the company of heroes." It's they I want us to remember today and forevermore.